and welcome back to the Legendborn podcast. As you should have learned from last week's podcast, I went through a lot of terminology really fast. In this week's podcast, we're going to be talking about the characters we meet in part two. And in next week, we're going to do a full breakdown of part two, Discord. I'm doing it like this because I felt like it was better. And not only is this characters, this is also the world building and like the area that we're in that Dion really establishes in part two. While part one is this like ramp up and build up and she's like letting us know about the world, part two takes off running up a hill. We get a lot of information. There's a lot of things we need to know. And there's a lot of things we have to like experience. So I'm just gonna start by once again, another spoiler warning. Welcome back to my podcast. Hello, you will be spoiled in our moment. I'm so sorry. I'm really hoping you bought the book or read the book, or if you checked it out at the library, or if you really need to read it and you really want to read it, please DM me and I will help you get a copy of this book. I think it's a very good read. So we have our main characters. We have our Bree, Nick, and Selwyn. But we also have some other characters that we meet in part two. So we have a character named William. We actually meet William in part one, but we don't know too much about him, but we meet him for real in part two. William is the scion of Sir Gawain, which, if you paid attention, that means he's the direct descendant of him. He's the leader in line, and he has already been awakened. He's been awakened for quite some time. And he first meet Bree uh, when she's injured. I'm not going to say any more further than that because we'll talk about that in a later episode. But William is their healer. He works in the infirmary. His ether is silvery and it looks like mercury and it smells like citrus because once again, our girl Brianna can smell ether and she can see the colors of it. So William is this really nice guy. Bree really loves him. He's nice, he's reliable, and he's really just a good healthcare provider. Like he is our bestie. If you need someone to talk to, which often Bree does, she goes to William. William also gives us, the audience, a full rundown of what's going on, like, in this world. Whenever Bree has a question, she goes to William. So whenever we have questions, we also go to William. So, another character that we meet is Tor. Tor is third ranked, which means she is the scion of Sir Tristan. She is like a quasi leader since Nick, other than Nick, because spoiler alert a little bit, Nick kind of abandoned his post. We'll get into that a little bit later. So Tor is the scion of Sir Tristan. Her full name is Victoria Morgan. We kind of meet her way early on. We meet her in part one in the area where like Bree tried to jump off a thing and then they had to fight. She's very tall, she's blonde, she's got blue eyes as well. And she's basically the leader. She has a very bad relationship with her mother and father a little bit, and Tor tends to say some not so kosher things to our girl Bree a lot. And Bree deals with it, so to speak. Then we have Sarah. Sarah has short dark hair. She's shorter and she is mixed, but she passes as white. This is very important. She's Venezuelan. Um, and she comes from a vassal family. And while she is not a scion, she's not a descendant. She is a squire, and she is the squire for Sarah's a squire for Tor. So they're in this together. Um, So, yes. So, and she's also very nice to Bree. They get along pretty well. And Sarah feels that Bree can understand her, and Bree kind of like looks out for Sarah. Then we have Felicity. Felicity is she is a page as of right now. Wait, hold on. She's not a page. She's a scion. My bad. I threw myself off when I said that. I was like, why would I say that? She's the scion of boars, I think. And that's all we really know of her right now. Um, she's got a lot of like powers from that. But we don't know too much about her. I'm kind of just saying her name. Then we have Fitz. Fitz is, oh my gosh, I said it backwards. Here we go again. Felicity is the scion of Sir Owain. Fitz is from the line of boars. And that's all you need to know about both of them. They're important characters later, but not so much right now because they're already Legendborn. They are Legendborn. That's all you really need to know. And then we have Russ. He is a squire. So he's in the competition. And he's tall, he's lanky, he's got cropped brown hair. I'm really just saying characters' names because it's kind of difficult. I just want you to know that they exist. I need you to know that they exist before we start talking about them for real. We also have Whitty. His name is James Whitty. He is a page, so you need to know that he wants to be a squire. Then we have Greer. Greer is Bree's friend. They are very nice. They're also a page, so they want to be a squire. They want to be a squire and get in. Do 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 do. I'm really slow. We have Evan. Does anybody remember Evan? Evan is the one that tried to touch Bree's hair at one point. He said she had really good hair, and she met him, and that was Charlotte's boyfriend, who just so happens to be he is a squire already. And he is in the mix. He is here. And then the final character you need to know about is Martin Davis. Dr. Martin Davis, our Lord Martin Davis. He is the viceroy of the Southern chapter. He is one of the lieges. And he is Nick's dad. And he's a pretty important character. Not to get into any spoilers, but he's a pretty important character. He's Nick's dad, which means he was once a Legendborn, but he aged out. Oh, I guess spoiler, Nick is a Legendborn, but we knew this, right? We figured this, right? As a group, like we put that together. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to get into some world building that Miss Tracy Deon is really good at doing. And this is where we learn about like Legendborn society and what actually is going on here, right? So at some points, redacted for spoilers, redacted. William takes Bree and he sits her down, and because he's such a nice guy, he actually explains to Bree what is going on. And he takes her to the basement of the lodge, which is the building where they all live, and he takes her down to the stairs and he shows her this thing called the Wall of Ages. And in the Wall of Ages, there are all these lines that show the lines of all the families where they can track each of the scions of what like people are, right? But so William explains to us that that Sir Arthur was born in Wales, and he did have this giant round table full of all his knights and all the people that he fought with. Well, he noticed that as they were getting older, like the knights were dying off, and they they had to fight against the magical creatures of old, like the evil people, the Shadowborn, but they had to like they had to do this in a way, right? So he went to Merlin, his good trusty dude, and like they knew he went to Merlin, and at the Round Table's peak, King Arthur had over 150 knights at his command. But then there was the Shadowborn Wars that were tearing down all the men until there was only the 13 original knights at the round table, and the 13 strongest. And so they were all dying out. And so Arthur goes to Merlin, and Merlin comes up with the spell. And it's called the Spell of Eternity. And it's a powerful casting, and this I'm reading directly from the book. A powerful casting to magnify the remaining knights' abilities and to bind their spirits to their bloodline so that their heirs could forever stand against the darkness, so that the table would live on immortal. So then, once again, that's where you get their bloodlines. That's where you get the Legendborn and the scions of the Legendborn. And so when they are awakened, that's when their knight spirit calls on them and fills them with the power so that they can fight once again against the Shadowborn. And that's where the term Legendborn comes from. So the knights of the Round Table are like reborn inside of them. And this is powerful crafting. And this, remember that word blood crafting from the last episode? This is where that word comes into play. Merlin designed a spell so strong that it tied the lines together. And because of this, the Legendborn lines are very particular about who they mate with. Because what is this, animals? Who they marry and have children with, because that bloodline will always follow the oldest. And for a long time, if you were a girl, if you were a girl and you were born first, they would kill you off because they did not want any girls to be in it. But they eventually left those old ways behind. But and it goes all the way back to the 6th century. So yes, there are thousands and thousands of descendants, but the knight's inheritance once again follows this like almost English type of like blood line lineage tracking. It goes to the oldest first. And it can only go, you're only eligible between the ages of 16 and 22, which gives Tracy, Miss Deon, a very good reason to have this be young adults in the novel, because it's only when you're at their peak, okay? I think that makes sense. So it keeps things really tidy. It keeps like things going. And typically those on the lower end of the line, once again, those lower 13, um, they get called first. And they all have sigils and they all have like their coins and their special markings. So in this big old wall that shows all the history, it's the wall itself is enchanted to hide names from outsiders. And William lets Bree know that the order built the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, so that they could hide their chapter. Like, so that they could do any shady things they needed to do. That's why they built the schools. So, yes, that's what they do there. And then there's also this thing called the abatement. So, because this power is so strong and it was such like magical work, it means that like it's the people who's tied to who get awakened, they die younger because all that power saps their life energy. That spell of eternity did a lot of work, and it comes at a price, and that price is abatement. Like there that is what happens. Okay. So that's all on the side of the Legendborn. Now, I know you're asking me about Rootcraft. So, or maybe you didn't know you're asking, but I'm telling you, you are asking. Asking? Asking. You are asking. This is a spoiler. So, Bree meets this woman named Patricia who knew her mother. Patricia is her therapist because redacted. I'll go into the next episode. I'm trying to give you I'm doing the best I can to give you a chance to catch up with me. Get to where I am. Read the book. Read the book. This is where we get into rootcraft, and rootcraft is something that flows from mother to daughter. And it is a borrowed magic that comes from knowing who your ancestors are and asking them to help you. And it can be anything. It can be things that help you grow things. It can help you heal. It can be like seeing people's auras. It can auras. It can be communing with the past, people who have passed on. It's all of those things. So that's what Rootcraft is. The Rootcrafters do not like the Legendborn. Spoiler alert, they don't like them because of course they don't like them. Would you like them? These are people who have like attached their like magic to them, like they're stuck with it. And it's killing them off. And they're also kind of shady. They got into some shady stuff. While they're down in the when Bree was giving a thing, she sees these like wrist cuffs, these manacles. And it scares her. It scares her. Yeah. So no, it's crazy. It's crazy. And the very last thing I want to talk about is Camlin. I know I mentioned it earlier. It's this big war, but you know Camlin is coming when the Shadowborn, and this is what William tells Bree, the Shadowborn start growing stronger and starting to become more corporeal. And as they get closer and closer to rising, more of the scions in the lines are called. And as they're called, getting all the way up to the first ranked. And when the first ranked, the Scion of Arthur, is called, boom, we're in Camlin. And for the Shadowborn, if they can get to the Scion of Arthur after he's called and kill him, then there is no more Legendborn, and the Scion, the Shadowborn, will rule the earth. And the humans, which are also known as the Unideg, my Welsh is very bad, will have no more defenders. And like I said, I know I said the Bloodcrafters don't really like the Legendborn. They stay away from them because they know that for the most part, the Legendborn are doing what they can to fight the Shadowborn. And that's some new characters to know. Some like history and the way that Tracy Deon took the Arthur story and transplanted it to today to know. This is why our characters have to be young, 16, 17, 18, and they will die young. That's sad, but it's sad. Anyway, so that's all that you need to know there. In our next episode, we will be going full spoiler central into good old part 2 Discord, and I will tell you exactly what goes down. And when I tell you we take off running, oh my gosh, the amount of stuff that actually happens is insane. I'm scared for how long that episode will be. Maybe it'll be like an hour, which who wants to listen to Exquisite talking for an hour? Raise your hand. Once again, you can follow me on Instagram at Exquisite Williams, on YouTube if you're not already listening to YouTube. If you are, like, comment, and subscribe. Help me out with the algorithm at Exquisite Williams. You can follow me on Twitter at Exquisite WILL, and you can follow this podcast on Twitter at Our Moment Pod. I had a very fun time talking to you guys. I really think happy November. Can you believe we have 2 months left in this year? I think by the end of the year we may be finished the book. So what I want you guys to do is kind of start thinking, what book should we talk about next? Let me know. Comment below in YouTube. Send me a DM. Comment on Twitter. What book do you want to hear me talking about? I mean, I have some ideas, but let me know. Have a good day. And I will see you all in the next episode. And oh my gosh, abandon all ye spoilers. Like, it is on. Like, we are going full spoiler town. And we're gonna have a good time. So once again, have a good day. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.